Good evening and welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. That is not Glenn Stiers. That is Adam Ross. And I love it when we stress Spencer out to kick things off. We're talking about other stuff. He's like, "We're going."
I was
Adam,
wondering, so that was weird, that opening, because we've never kept talking right up until the opening credits, and we were still yammering. And then you kicked off, and I thought you were having a stroke. You kind of stopped there for a second, but now I see why. But I'm good, man. It's race week. I've been at the track. I've been at the racetrack the last 2 Fridays, Clinton, and I've been able to get my hands dirty, and I enjoyed being in the pits.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about Ush Weekend tonight. So for our pavement friends in the room, we apologize a little bit. But next week we have no Ush Weekend after the Outlaws. So it'll all be about the APC getting ready for that weekend. But next week I'll be staying at the track Tuesday, Adam. So I don't know if you're around. Maybe we could do a track side. I know a lot of the Outlaws are moving into our place Monday and Tuesday. So you never know who could be hanging around, who might be able to get on the program next week. But if we can pull it off, I'd like to be doing it live from the track. At least I'll try and be there. Well, I know I'm going to be there. So that's where we are. We have all kinds of stuff to talk about. We're expecting the Chaz to join us. He's had a lot of wild discussions lately, and we'll save it all for the Chaz. We're going to follow up 2 other things. Practice at Ush Weekend, Part 2. It's a wing thing, Part 2. And Cole Quinton, it almost seems like deja vu this week, but these are all new twists on stories we've talked about here in the past couple weeks. So we'll talk about that. And the last one that's visible on the rundown is enjoy it as much as you can. And that's a takeoff on something we've discussed here a little bit and the advice that you've given me in the past couple years when I get to weeks like this and I just want them to be over.
Yeah, it's, you know what? And I think about that often, Clinton. The path that you've taken and the path that I've taken and what racing means to both of us, we've dedicated a good bit of life to it, but a lot of the magic is gone because we're now behind the curtain, right? We're the ones that work that side of thing. But where the hell was I going with that? What were we talking about?
I think you were getting into the point that it's easy for us to be jaded now, and it's tough for us to
Yes.
grasp the pleasure in this deal.
So I look at people like Derek and before we get too far, Shrek, condolences to your dad. We've talked privately, but please accept our condolences. But yeah, I'm so pleased to see people like Derek and others get so excited for the event that's coming. And I know that that's gone for us, Clinton. Like we don't experience that anymore, but we still enjoy it. We're still in it. But I love seeing people get genuinely pumped up.
I'm pumped up. I mean, my list is still mega long. In fact, it's right here beside me. So this is my daily to-do list right now. I don't know if it's going to come through, but there's 40 items on that. It's long. We've gotten through a lot of them today. That plus 2 pages of notebook is typically what my days look like these days. We're just trying to knock things out. And this sheet, I'll grab it here. This sheet, Adam, has everything from – let's just look at some of the things we're trying to work on last minute here to get ready for the opener Friday and the Outlaws. Fence around the back of the pits, ground leveled and spread around the new electrical shed. Little things as non-important as flour in the boxes. You know, things like that. Just trying to figure out a thing. We had a new problem today. For our fans to come back to Ush Weekend, they're going to see a big difference in the grandstand area. The old original concession building and bathroom building is gone right when you walk in. It's replaced by a small little blue electrical shed now. They leveled all the ground there, Adam. We have a new C-tainer coming for Kids Club. And, man, they tapped into some water main or something today, and there's water everywhere now. So my quick 5 o'clock question was, how are we going to make this work? They were having a construction meeting at 6:30. They said, don't worry, we'll be ready for Friday. We'll be ready for Wednesday, Thursday, but we're going to need to do some major work. So let's not waste any more time because I can talk about this all day long. Let's bring on the Chaz. He's been on the show a couple times, and let's jump in and talk what's going on. Chaz, welcome back to the program. We appreciate it. Chaz came on my radar this week, Adam, because he reached out and said, Outlaws are coming your way. And are you going to join them, Chaz? Are you going to make the trek to Canada?
I don't know. I want to. I do. I am back here in Knoxville, Iowa at this point, but I've been on the road since the last week of January. And obviously tax season takes a hit to the finances. It's not going to be cheap to go up there. Um, I'm thinking of rolling the dice though. I haven't been to Canada, stamp another, I do have a little side of me that wants to kind of go places I haven't been before. And obviously going to Canada, if there was ever an opportune time for anyone to do it, it would be for this event. I would think so.
Agreed.
Chaz, your money goes a long way up here. I can tell you that much. You'll be happy with that. Whenever we go to the States, it costs us $1.40 to make up a dollar. You're going to be the other way around, buddy. You're going to be rolling large in Canada.
Well, I mean, I know that is partially true. Is my mic and visuals behind a little bit? It looks like it's lagging a little bit. Is it fine?
No, you're fine.
I think it's
Okay,
good.
okay. Maybe it's just on my end. I'm seeing it that way. Um, I hear what you're saying, but it is still, and I didn't know it until I looked it up last night. Obviously, if I was to come up there, I would want to go to Osh Weekend. That's the premier. Funny enough, I ran to Glenn Steyer at Sebring as he was running his road course car. That was the first time I actually met him. But he's done an amazing job up there. Y'all have done an amazing job. Y'all's broadcast, tuning into it from time to time, seeing some of y'all's highlights, especially. Y'all have one of the best, broadcasts in the country. It's right up there with, I would say, closer to like 7+ in Australia. It's very professionally done. Things that are covered and interest for the fan or the viewing audience to be seeing is being done. I feel like a lot of other companies and streaming services kind of miss out on the viewer engagement of how important that is. So, regardless, I think y'all do a great job. Osh Weekend's one thing I would want to go do, but then obviously I'd want to go to Cornwall. I did not know that this track was like basically Vermont. I mean, it's at the top over there.
Yep.
Osh Weekend's only about 15 hours from me, but that Cornwall track, I believe, is about 20. So it's up there. I don't know. I think that's why you have some people saying currently they want to go to Osh Weekend, but then they're going to dip down and go to the high limit races on the weekend because it's closer. It's right there in that New York little vicinity. I think it's Utica, Rome, and Ransomville that they're going to. So I don't know if that was a good idea for the Outlaws to go all the way up there to Cornwall. I've heard there's some other good tracks, but I guess there's a dirt car sanction deal that's keeping other tracks from getting a date with the Outlaws. They are elitist with their scheduling, but regardless, I want to go. It's just, it is a long trip. We have been financially tapped mixed with the tax season. I'm hoping I'm thinking something is going to fall out of the sky. I'm looking for it as soon as I can, but I want to come. But with me, it is always, unfortunately, the financial. I'm assuming y'all can get me a pit pass, can't you? If I made my ass up there, I'm just saying.
Full pop.
What does full
No
pop
free-
mean?
No free rides up here, baby. No.
Oh,
Obviously, we'll hook you
Don't
up.
worry. I know the manager. I'm sure I can get you a pass. We'll be okay.
okay.
Let's talk, Chaz. Okay, so I have tons of things I could go back and forth with you on. A couple of things, you've had some good guests on lately. David Gravel, Tony Stewart was a good get. I'd like to touch on both those, but up here in Canada, okay, so Monday I'm going into the regional TV station CHCH. We're taking a 410 sprint car. We're going to have a 5-minute feature on the sports in a big region here on a channel that's widely watched. You have always been a proponent of putting the sprint cars as the main attraction. The sprint cars are the stars, not these NASCAR guys we're trying to bring in and promote them to fill it. So what's the message I should be getting, in your eyes, out to this regional television audience where 95% of them don't know what a sprint car is and are seeing it for the first time as they drink their morning coffee on Monday prior to the Outlaw Show?
I think you need to educate them on how racing operates, because really at the end of the day, that is probably, and you don't even really have to, unfortunately, I think you have to touch on NASCAR or any of these elite series that they may know of. And that's the only reason you may have to talk about them, because I think one of the issues racing has is like it gets labeled as either a Formula One or an IndyCar or a NASCAR or whatever is relevant for your region. Um, like for instance, like if they've heard of NASCAR, they think of it as the NFL, and I think that's the biggest issue with the sport right now is like I was saying it the other day as the NASCAR race was running and it was halfway boring, halfway wasn't because I had money on the line. But that's the only reason I was really watching it, because I had money on the line, or the F1 race. I mean, I'm watching these events that the person you're going to talk to is going to see most of the time. That's the only thing they're going to see most of the time. And I'm sitting there like, man, if I was regular guy and all I could ever or knew or saw or wondered about was this NASCAR race I'm seeing and this F1 race I'm seeing, I probably wouldn't be a race fan. I probably wouldn't have the passion. I probably wouldn't have the anticipation to see the next race, because these things are relatively boring entertainment forms of just general entertainment. I would rather watch a basketball game or a football game or something else than this kind of snooze fest I'm watching on the F1 side or the NASCAR side. So I don't know if you should use them as an example, but I definitely think it is important that people recognize that the elite, I wouldn't even call them levels, professional levels of motorsport. I would reference them as elite levels of motorsport, because that is a majority of the people involved in the sport. It's elitism in a
So
way.
Chaz, if I may, I agree with what you're saying, but what Clinton's doing on Monday, we got to be in the entertainment business. I think that's more important than elite, or are they elite, or are they professionals, are they this or that? You know what I'm saying?
But you're having to deal with these examples of sports. You're having to. It's not like you're choosing to. This is just like we have to reset our minds when we're promoting this sport. Like we know about all this other stuff, but the regular person just doesn't. So when you're bringing a motorsport genre to their face, like sprint car racing, I think the proper, the PG way to do it is we're going to have these great racers. It's going to be an amazing time. They've never been here before, or they have been here before, but it's been a long time. We finally got them back, and this is great, and it's going to be great. Some of the best sprint car racers in the world. Like that's the PG way to sell it, But at the same time, you also have the elephant in the room of the scenario is they don't know what you're talking about. Like that's what you're saying. These people are going to have no idea what you're talking about. And I think educating regular people on how racing operates just a little, you don't have to, chastise as much as I do, obviously, but I mean, just a little bit of a slight educational bump on saying, I don't know, something along the lines is like, some people think Formula One or NASCAR racing is like this NFL level, but in motorsports, it's just a little bit different. The guys you're going to see here at Osh Weekend coming up this week are probably some of the best drivers in the world. And there's probably not any other driver out there in any of these other leagues, any of them outside of maybe Kyle Larson, who's a sprint car driver in NASCAR, more so than a NASCAR driver in sprint cars. Outside of some of the people who are drivers, you could not put them in a car at Osh Weekend and win your event. There's no way. They may not even make the show.
Is it a sellout? Because Clinton, what I think, these cars are the reason Kyle Larson is dominating NASCAR.
Use that. So that's a better way. Yeah.
Here's my pitch that I give typically to anybody who doesn't know what we're doing. Okay. So I typically use, first off, the cars are going 135 miles an hour for you, Chaz. In Canada, it even sounds more dramatic because they're going 170 to 175 kilometers an hour. 3 wide, then they drifting through the turn and coming back the other way at 135 miles an hour, 170 kilometers an hour, wheel to wheel the whole way. The other way I describe it is, these are massive power plants. If you take the cars off, it's a wing, 4-seat, tires, and a steering wheel. And what we have going on this weekend is basically the equivalent of Glenn Stires has built the hottest club in town, and we have AC/DC coming on next Wednesday and Thursday to kick your face in. Because that's what these sprint cars do to the fans who've never seen it before for the first time. And even our regular fans who are used to the 360s, the 410s are a whole nother, we're running in fourth gear. These are going to be fifth gear now. Like it's going to be insane.
It's a bump.
But we have a lot of great stuff going on. Let's jump on that, Chaz.
And even saying, even not even doing and saying what I just said, maybe make the point, this is you take Formula One and you mix it with Supercross, and this is more so what you're going to be able to see. This is the F1 of dirt. Speak of it as this high level thing that maybe you may not have seen it before, but if you've seen normal racing on your TV, what they do out there on that dirt track is just a little bit more exciting. It's more visual appealing, I think. I think that would be the way to go about it if you want to be nice, which you have to be. I understand. Is just trying to say, it's like the Formula One of dirt, and it's probably the most exciting form of oval track racing visually that you can see in the world. It really is.
That would resonate more in Canada, Chaz, than it would down there. Like F1, Canada's a little bit more European, I'd say, wouldn't you, Clinton? Where there are a lot of F1
plus we get F1 here. We have an F1 race in Canada. We don't have a NASCAR race, although we tend to share more fans with NASCAR. I would say any of the NASCAR fans in this area know what Osh Weekend's about, know what the World of Outlaws is about. A lot of the Formula One fans probably still don't have any idea what we're doing. But Chaz, let's talk about some of the high-level interviews you got. You've had Tony Stewart on recently. I saw David Gravel clips most recently. How cool is that to get a guy like Tony Stewart, to come on board and really open up?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It had kind of been something that was worked on for about 4 months. I had just randomly messaged him one night and asked him if he had seen any of the shows or anything like that. And I've seen a few of them. How about we do something? And then I asked him, like, it was probably 2 or 3 days after that. I was like, so, hey, I know you said you want to do something. Do you want to schedule or anything like that? And he said, nothing, believe it or not. And so when he said nothing, I kind of gave it a day or two. Oh, it's Tony Stewart. He's busy. And then he still didn't say nothing. And then, I got my drunk text on one night. I got a few drinks and I basically went off on Tony Stewart without being mean. I kind of tried to say what I'm all about. If that's the touring, why you don't want to come on the show, not a F you, but that's fucking I'm not the cuss. Sorry. He just, I was like, oh God, this is right after I sent it, I reread it and I muted his message thing because I didn't want to see what he had to say. I thought it was going to be very bad. But he came back like the next day and was apologetic. And I was like, wow, this is kind of different here. I didn't see this Tony Stewart coming. But anyways, that was like 3 months ago. And then we had tit-tatted a little bit on stuff, and I had been doing my chili bowl and I was in Florida. And I just asked him one week there in April, I was like, hey man, you want to do something this week maybe? Because I was trying to think of what to do for that week. The racing world kind of was boring there for a minute. The Outlaws and High Limit were kind of just doing normal stuff. And he's like, sure. And so that was we did a talk on the phone that went to a video call to kind of get the show ready, because I do my own graphics and everything. And I was trying to set it up, and we had talked for the first time ever the day before that show. And I had talked about some things I want to talk about, but not all. And then the show went, and in the show, I was just being me and he was just being him. And yeah, I mean, I guess we touched on some topics some people saw offensive, like the Kevin Ward Jr. situation, but I thought I had another angle on that. I wasn't really trying to get him to talk on it. Like I said, I don't care if you did it or not. I don't care if anybody thinks you're guilty or innocent. I'm just saying, how does it feel to be living knowing that happened? How's the repercussions of that? And other scenarios and other topics that, I just don't think too many people are asking just because they're trying to cover their P's and Q's and worry about a sponsor or something like that. And we got some sponsors on the show, but we try to make sure that they support what we do here. And that's not, holding back. That's saying what you think and maybe you hear what you don't want to hear, but you're at least getting your truth out or your authenticity
Yeah.
out. And it
So,
seemed
Chaz,
to work well.
how's that going for you? And I want to broaden my question a little bit. We've known you for what, a couple of years now. You seem to me like you were the shock jock type of dirt racing. Say things to get a reaction, some
Well,
clickbait
you could
stuff.
still
Very
say that. They
interesting.
could still say that, but
But
continue.
that's what. Who are you today? Because you've had Tony Stewart on, you've had David Gravel on. Like, where do you see yourself in our dirt racing industry, and how has
Well,
that changed over the last couple of years?
I mean, Donnie Schatz calls it the Joe Rogan of dirt. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I do make some decent jokes, I guess, when I get all riled up drinking and vaping or whatever I'm doing when on the show. And that seems to be entertaining. I had an Asian pushing Asian joke from Knoxville with the push truck driver, and that was very hilarious, apparently. And hell, I even got a potential sponsor out of that. We'll see about that here in the next coming weeks. And it's a big one. It's like, wow, this guy thought that was funny. It was edgy, Asians pushing Asians. Like, why would you say that? But it was hilarious because there was a Asian push truck driver at the Knoxville Raceway, the only one, and he ends up pushing off Kyle Larson in his first ever time pushing a car off at Knoxville. And that's his favorite driver, obviously. And I was like, y'all are worried about tariffs? I mean, look at what they're really doing to us, I mean, how does this happen? But I don't know. It's in that. I guess that's kind of how I think why some people see it in the Joe Rogan element, because it's a little comedy mixed in with a little authenticity and rawness. And then, you say I had David Gravel on, and we had Jacob Allen on too, on the heels of the whole scenario they had with the 1A car. And both of those scenarios happened where I was starting a show basically going after him. The Gravel deal happened because I went after him about some helmet deal or being able to see cars on the track. And next thing you know, he wants me to call him and have him on the show. These kind of scenarios, even the Jacob Allen thing, I was talking about his reaction to signing Ashton Torgerson and getting rid of Cale Thomas and all his responses. And the next thing you know, he wants me to call him, So, and those two shows were very random in how they occurred, but they were very successful because, we had this controversial topic. And then the driver calls and we talk about that topic, but then it ends up being more of a show after the controversy is discussed. It's almost like when the wrestler goes out to the ring and screams somebody's name, and then all of a sudden, bam, the music comes on and the guy rolls into the arena, and then they go at it. But I don't know if we cracked the code on that. Maybe we did, but it is. And we've had Donnie on, and we've had our interviews at the track and stuff with different people. You had the Ginger Kitty scenario with Cody Jacobs here recently, and I don't know. You say where I slot in. I've always kind of just tried to do what I do and let things happen and things come and opportunities occur. And it's been going that way. But I am and this is why I'm halfway debating on going to Canada, is like, it seems like there's a pretty heavy momentum behind everything I'm doing here recently. Right there around just before the Tony Stewart deal up until this David Gravel deal. And it's all kind of been organically happening, whether that's God or whatever that's moving things, but it's just happening. And I'm not so sure if that's kind of like a sign or a telling that I should just keep doing my talk shows instead of running up and down the road chasing race cars. So I'm thinking it's definitely got the momentum behind it right now. Where I slot in, honestly, I don't know if you could go to any of these dirt track shows that we see that are popular and you don't see them and think that someone else can't do them. A lot of these other shows come across as like we could plop anyone into these shows, give them the same script, and anyone could do what these other successful dirt track platforms are doing outside some of the podcasts and other things. I'm just saying the more popular things, it seems like, are more so scripted. I mean, they would literally admit that, I think, in a way, but I don't know if what we're doing here, maybe we're the head of the bullet, because there's other people trying to do the same thing and just say and talk and have authenticity. But I feel like maybe what I got is maybe the head of the bullet as far as that genre is concerned in dirt racing, where I don't know if you could put another guy on the cameras here and do what I do, because it is so personable in an experience with the viewer. So maybe that's finally authenticity and truth winning out overall. And if it does, I mean, there's a hell of a track record on how hard it took to get here. So we'll see. I don't know where it fits in. I feel like it's definitely got the momentum going for it though right now.
Chaz, okay, let's not get into some long form answers. Let's keep this quick, okay? Because I got a few. I'm going to steal a minute here, Adam, if you can. Are you a Larson fan or anti-Larson? People who only see some of your stuff won't really know. Where are you on that? Fan or non-fan?
I would say I'm a fan of Kyle Larson outside of a sprint car. If I'm watching a NASCAR race, I'd rather him win the race than Ryan Blaney or Joey Logano. But when he gets into a sprint car, I want our guys to whoop his ass. I want our guys to have a chip on their shoulder and really show the world. I don't want the headlines the next day to say Kyle Larson wins the World of Outlaw race. I want it to be David Gravel and Carson Macedo win the race and Kyle finishes second or third, because I think it adds validity to what I was saying earlier about how great our drivers are. And if Kyle comes in here and just smokes our guys, it's not good for the sport's image.
Would you consider yourself someone who promotes the sport or critiques the sport?
I think both of those are the same, because the critique is a part of the entertainment. You look at the other major sports, there's 7 or 8 programs a day on your ESPN or whatever critiquing the sport, but it's also promoting it and making anticipation for the next event. So it's a mixture of both.
Stop there.
I think that's both.
The 1A and the whole wing thing. Who's right, Dietrich or the Allen crew?
I think that teching is the biggest issue in the sport right now. Everybody's cheating.
Okay. Are smartwatches an actual thing that we have to pay attention to?
I mean, I guess if you're not Rico or Larson, it don't matter. But I guess if you're a regular guy and you get out with the smartwatch, then you might have to worry about. I mean, I think there's issues with it. If it's in the rule books, it shouldn't be in the race car, no matter who you are. It should be fair.
Fair enough. Adam, anything you got for Chaz before we let him go?
No, man, it's always good to talk to you. I'm happy for the success that you're having, and I hope you're able to line up all sorts of more sponsors and keep doing what you're doing.
We may have to risk it all to go to Osh Weekend. You're making me do it. I'm going
to
blame you.
I promise you, if you come up, you will not find a better party at night. You will not find a better time. The Canadians would love to have you.
What about the
Stiers has built – Glenn, well, I'm married, so I can't talk about that,
God.
But I'm sure you could find some honeys to keep you company.
Yeah.
Glenn Stiers has built a showpiece like nothing you'd ever seen. So I think it might be good for us to figure out a way to get you up there. And, I got pit passes if you can get your ass there. So Let's keep talking. We'll see if we can work it out. If we get you there, you've got to do a show from the track or something and help us get the word out about the great place we got.
I'm available for whatever you need. You need me to do a concert. You need me to do some shows, some talk shows. You need me to be on the stage, whatever the monkey needs to do. You just tell me where to clap.
Dance,
right,
monkey,
we'll be
dance.
in touch.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chaz. Touched on a lot of hot button topics lately in the sprint car world has been the Chaz. Appreciate his time here today.
For those of you who aren't really up to speed on what he does, for some of our maybe pavement fans or APC late model fans, that might have been a little, I hope it wasn't boring, because it's always fun to listen to him talk, but there's a lot of shit going on in that brain. The wheels are always turning.
Yeah, I appreciate, like you called him the shock jock. I mean, that was some of the advice that was given to myself as a young announcer 25 years ago is be yourself, don't bullshit, don't pretend we're not seeing what we're seeing, and be authentic. And I think that's the key word that's missing in a lot of things today is authenticity. I know in our G-Force broadcast, we really work to make sure we are staying authentic and not putting out bullshit stories and fabricating nothing. because this is the most badass, authentic stuff we've got going on. There is drama there. We don't need to fabricate it. So, you know, I'm super
just
impressed.
tell the stories that are there.
Yeah.
Like, there's so
We've
much
got so
going
many great
on.
ones. Yeah, and I think the fact that, you know, our crew has built relationships with our regular drivers, so we get those inside scoops. Maybe the stuff that the announcer who's just showing up on the night doesn't get because they're not immersed in it like we are. And the one thing, if you know, maybe Chaz isn't your cup of tea, but I feel like we've seen a maturing of Chaz in the past couple of years. But he is also still, the passion is what drives that whole thing. And
Yeah, he's
he's
still got his
angry at
edge.
times, and he's edgy because he has passion for the sport and what's going on. So we will continue to go. I mean, look at the comments. I think, shit, I'm going to have to figure this out. I wonder if he could hitchhike from Knoxville. We'll work that out. I can get him a food budget, and I get him tickets. And if he works hard, he could probably find someone to cuddle up to. Not me, though. All right, let's move on, Adam. Let's have some fun. See, we got burned once. Now we know they're still watching, so we can at least make Chaz laugh. Where do you want to go from here? Adam, let's jump into that Mike Joy video, Spencer. Bringing them to the track. You know, we showed a Dale Jr. video last week about how to connect with new fans. This is one about how to Wesley Martin says he's got an ante for him for Chaz. That's, I don't know what to make of that, Wes, but we appreciate the offer. It might go into the pot to sweeten things up. Anyways, let's look at the Mike Joy video where he talks about, you know, what we have to do to connect with the next generation.
We have 18 and 20-year-olds coming into the Cup Series and making a mark. The fan base is getting older. We're not attracting the younger fan base that we need to move this sport forward into the next decade, into the next couple of decades. So my first thing would be to energize the teams, the PR people, the sponsors, to get out there and activate. All right, so Sunday's race was the Food City 500, a local grocery store chain, you know, mostly in that area in Tennessee. During the heyday of NASCAR, which coincidentally was about the time Talladega Nights came out, you know, that was when we hit our peak for fan engagement and crowds at the racetrack. I remember going into a Food Lion in Bristol, Tennessee, and you couldn't push your cart down any aisle without knocking over a cardboard cutout of some driver hawking something.
Right.
You know, you couldn't go in a supermarket without knowing about NASCAR. It was everywhere. And I can't blame COVID. I can't blame the sponsors. But when NASCAR transitioned to being a sport with mostly B2B sponsors, you know, the uniforms that your guys wear at the car dealerships you own, the motor oil that you pour in your service department, you know, when these started becoming the sponsors and the sponsors stopped, absent Busch Beer and a couple of others, stopped activating toward the general public and toward the race fans, the sport just took a giant dump in the relationship relative to everyday life department.
Yeah.
And we lost a lot of that young fan base that we really need to covet if we're going to grow this sport again.
Another great clip from Happy Harvick's Happy Hour show.
And you know what? There's some really good podcasts out there right now. As much as I sometimes begrudge some of the former drivers taking up commentary roles, because you still need some exciting commentators. I love the fact that Harvick's got his show, Dale Jr. with what he's doing. That's the difference. I think Mike Joy was spot on. But those drivers of that generation who have those podcasts now, they have personalities. They came up with personalities. The new ones didn't come up with personalities. They got here so soon, they hadn't even grown up yet. Joey Logano had no personality until the last few years. I think he's phenomenal now, but for a long time, there was nothing there.
See, I can't stand to see Denny Hamlin win, but when he gets on his show and talks and he lets the truth fly and really says, hey, that guy pissed me off, or I think this is bullshit, I can admire that. I appreciate that. One thing that Mike Joy said, okay, B2B, business to business, was something he referenced in that video, right? So what he's referencing is now how NASCAR is staying alive, Adam, is it's a lot of, as they say, business to business. So, for example, Penske has a massive fleet of trucks. Well, he buys a massive amount of oil and fuel from Shell. So he says, okay, I'll commit to buying all my fuel and oil from you, Shell, if you commit to 0.2% giving back to my race team. And that adds up to $20 million on the $1 billion in fuel I spend a year, or whatever the situation is. So everything is back scratching now. So what Mike was saying is the businesses are taking care of the business instead of reaching out to the public for that kind of connection. One thing we are doing at Osh Weekend, and I just want to talk about this quickly, is what Mike Morris and the sales team and myself are working on is we have brought in a ton of new businesses to Osh Weekend Speedway, and we're promoting that business-to-business deal. But how we are trying to avoid the pitfall they're talking about NASCAR is every business we bring, we are offering ticket deals and massive amounts, and we are basically tying those deals to being, to ticket deals to bring people out. So we want your sign business, but more importantly that we need you to help us get 40 new people to the track for your night at the races. And that's something we're doing on the Osh Weekend side.
Can I tell you a story, Clinton? I need some passes, by the way. Rob Twitchett and I were out doing some sales calls this week, and we stopped by Oak Ridge Landscape up on the mountain in Stony Creek. And as I was standing outside, there was a couple of guys at their truck, and the one walks over and says, "I'm a big fan of the work that you do." He says, "Man, I love watching." And they talked about our Tuesday show and going to the races. He and his wife, I believe he said their daughter, come to the races every Friday, if not every other Friday. He loves it. But he talked about trying to get other people to come. And the other guy that was standing there, yeah, I'd like to check that out. That's the kind of person. You hand them 20 passes. Over the course of the year, he's going to bring a whole bunch of other people. But just to hear that enthusiasm, it's always nice. This show's kind of our baby. Like this, we've been doing this for a long, long time. So it's nice to hear people that you wouldn't expect. I expect the only people watching is maybe my aunts and uncles and shit like that. You just don't know. But it's nice to hear from people who do watch it and they're preaching the things that we try to preach, how much better it is to be at the track, experience it, and you just never know where you're going to find that. So I want to drop off a bunch of passes to Oak Ridge Landscape and say, hey, your guys, your heavy equipment operators, that's the demographic of people that would go to the racetrack. Why don't you come on out on a Friday night and check things out?
I'm Mike Morris going to be calling you for that contact tomorrow. It's just the way he operates. Love it. We got a few more segments to get to. So we just looked at Get to the Track Part 2. Let's look at this video. Adam, I always hear and it pisses me off. It annoys me. Hearing the Xfinity drivers with their statement, oh, my car was almost as fast as Xfinity high-speed internet. So what is the payoff there? There has to be a program for all of these drivers for word. Just run the clip, Spencer. We don't need to see all of them, but there's a few of them lined up. And just so if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Not sure what happened, but he was really dominant tonight. And, we're working on changing our culture here at RCR. We're winners. We know we are. We all want to win a championship for Rich Childress. So, man, that thing was as fast as Xfinity Mobile. And I'm ready to go get to Atlanta, I think, now. So it was awesome.
Huge props to this team. This Autobell Ford Mustang was really, really fast today. So I'm super proud to be up at the front with these guys, especially with a new team like this. They worked really hard this offseason to make cars as fast as Xfinity Mobile, but so far so good. The Rockingham test was really good. This was really good. So
as he starts the season with Haas Factory, Carla. Yeah, here with Connor Zilic at the Medical Center. Pretty hard hit for you to end this race, but you were able to keep your car on the track in this one. And despite the early damage on, what did you learn about your team in this one?
Yeah, I learned a ton. I'm glad we were able to get going after the damage. You know, our WeatherTech Chevrolet was as fast as Xfinity Mobile, and that's why it hurts even more to be standing here right now.
It's just frustrating. It was almost like the Coke points we heard about back in the day, where every driver would, as soon as they went on camera, take a big swig of the Coke with the logo. What's going on there, Adam? Is that money? Is that payouts?
Yes,
Is
100%.
How does it work?
Not only is it money, it's competition. Coke used to tell their drivers who's ahead, who's had the most screen time with their bottle up to their mouth.
Yeah,
dude.
And if
you
you
think
look
they're
at
getting to the end of these races and sucking back some Mountain Dew? No, they're sucking back electrolytes and water. They don't need all that sugary crap, but they take that sip because that's what they get paid for.
Yeah, it just again, we just talked about the authenticity. That is so not authentic. It's a shitty way to go about it. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm of mixed opinions. I don't mind it, because if that's what they want you to do, that's what they want you to do. You're not having to cluck like a chicken or something. You're just spewing off a line, right?
Now, every time I hear that, I'm going to see in my mind someone clucking on a chicken.
Clyde
right.
Torkel's chicken pit?
Yeah. If anybody hasn't seen Stroker Ace, you're not allowed to watch next week until you have seen Stroker Ace.
Fastest
Burt
chicken
Reynolds
in the
movie
South.
from way back in the day. You can't say that. It's right there on your car. Hey, before we jump into that, let's jump into a gentleman who was on the show not that long ago. Was it last week? Already? The week before? I don't know. They all blend together. Cole Quinton, welcome back to the show, bud. Not in the shop today by the looks of it. But you got some big news, man. We were just talking about how popular you were and how your life was going good, and then you make us look like heroes by bringing back the real news. What's going on?
Well, hey, guys, I want to say thanks again for having me on. I've definitely had some good news in the past, week or so. I mean, for one, race season's around the corner, and testing went well. So we're looking forward to May 17th and race 1 with the APC series. But I've been continuing the journey with my school. I'm back in school for the summer. I actually just got back from the University of Waterloo Formula Electric shop. I was working on the car there a bit. So just left an aero meeting and kind of raced back on over here when my mom gave me a call and was like, hey, you better get home if you're not home soon. So she reminded me that I had to come on with you guys.
So spill it, man. What's happening?
So as I said, I'm in the summer right now. So with how my program works, it's a co-op program for those who don't know. So I'm a Stream 8 student, they call it. So my schedule is every 4 months I'm in a co-op, and then the next 4 months I'm in school, and I alternate until I'm done my 4 2/3 years. So over the term when I was working with Glenn's, I started to started the venture and see what was around and tried to make my way into the States, as I had mentioned to you guys a while ago when I was on the show. And thankfully I got hooked up with Joe Gibbs Racing, and for the fall I'm actually going to be going down as a performance engineering intern with the Joe Gibbs Racing crew, and I'm going to have an internship down there for 4 months from September to the end of December.
Cool, that's pretty amazing. Congrats, obviously.
Thank you.
Super huge moment that you've worked hard for. Where do you see yourself going then? Like, this seems like you're going to be kind of not driving cars for a living, kind of making them fast for a living. So how does that sit with you to have to kind of sideline your racing career now that you are at the top in Ontario to concentrate a bit more on the working?
Yeah, it was definitely tough. When I was going through the interview process, kind of when we finalized and, the race engineering, the head of race engineering there was kind of like, he knew that I drove cars, which they really liked. They said a lot of engineers don't have the hands-on experience, and that's something they have to teach them when they get down there. So every engineer that goes down there has the same goal that I do, which is to go and crew chief one day and to make your mark there. So he said that helps a lot when carrying somebody new into the workplace and getting them integrated. So he basically told me, he's like, "Are you ready to let go of the steering wheel and to pick up the wrench?" Which I feel like I do a lot right now anyway, but it definitely is something that I've just got to take in stride. Next summer, I do have a co-op during the summer term, so if I am to go down to the States, that is puts a hold on my racing for now. But I got to do what's best for my career, and unfortunately, I've just kind of reached a point in Ontario racing where we've essentially stalled out. You do need a lot of external help, and I'm very fortunate to have the partners I do on my car and the people supporting me. But you reach a point where if you're to go to the States, you need a lot of financial help, and we just haven't been able to find it quite yet. And I got into racing a little late, stock cars a little late, so we're gonna see what we can do this year. My ultimate dream has always been to keep driving race cars. I love it. I've always had the dream ever since I watched cars when I was a little kid, that I wanted to go and run in the NASCAR Cup Series and win championships. And I'm not going to let that stop my drive to go win races. If anything, I feel like I got a little extra fire under the seat this year to go out and try to do everything I want to do in Ontario right now, because I don't really know what's going to happen depending on how this co-op goes. I could be there long term, or it could just be a 4-month stint. So I'm just really thankful to be in that position, and I'm really hoping I can keep racing in Ontario. I think our racing scene's amazing, and who knows? I would love to go to the States one day, run the Derby, run all the big races down there, even if I can't run a NASCAR race one day, even though that's my dream. I think you can still still get aspects of it. So that's something I had to sit down and realize when I was kind of picking what I wanted to do as a school program, is that unfortunately some things are out of your control, and maybe it's not on my cards to go be a driver, but it still doesn't mean I can't go win at the top level. So that's kind of how I look at it, at least.
I have a feeling, Cole, that this is going to change the way you race this summer. You've got one summer to get done what you want to get done, what you haven't done yet. I have a feeling we're going to see that 18 car really. I don't know what the word, not desperation, because I don't think you'd ever get to that point, but I think the time is now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we definitely put in a lot of effort over this off season, and I kind of went in with the goal of I was getting to this being my third co-op term. It's kind of the point where people start to move to the States, especially in my program. And I looked at that and went, next summer's coming up, and if I go to the States, that's it for me. So I kind of always had this season circled. Not that I didn't want to go and be competitive last year, because I got the same drive, and my guys got the same grit, and no matter when we're showing up to the racetrack. But I think this year especially, it's just it's a go all in kind of year. So even with me being in school, I'm really making sure I dedicate the time to work on my car and get it ready and get it, prepared for the racetrack, because we are showing up with one goal, and it's to, complete all those, all those goals that we set out for ourselves when we started the APC journey. And we'll just see what happens. We're going to take it race by race, but I know that, come Delaware, it could be my last one. And I want to be able to, hang my hat on the season that we had and the effort that we put in to make it a good one. So I'm definitely really fired up. I might not seem fired up right now, but I cannot wait for May 17th and to get going, because we'll see. We'll let the on track stuff talk.
Right on, Cole. We appreciate it. Congrats once again. Take us on your journey as you live this life, and it's exciting to have an insider there to let us know how it's going down.
Yeah, thank you, boys. It's definitely exciting. I'm very thankful to have connections and such that help get you where do you want to be, because as everybody knows in racing, putting yourself around good people is very important. So I'm very thankful to have a great group of guys around me, my team. My family that supports me, because without them, I, definitely wouldn't be at the school that I'm in or have the opportunity I have. So definitely living I'm going to be living a dream. And I never thought that, the Cup team I was cheering for when I was younger, I'd be, working for one day. So I'm really excited and looking forward to, having a great race season and then going down there and, keep learning and keep improving.
All right, man. We will see you next weekend.
Thank you, boys.
Cole Quinton. Making the career happen. It's always good to see these young guys get it done.
You know,
We've got about 10 minutes left to go.
I like seeing these guys get that much more comfortable just talking to us. Clint, like Kyle Stackley, Trayton Lapsovich, Cole Quinton, from what they were in the beginning to what they are. They were always decent, but you just get to that comfort level where it's fun to see.
For sure. Okay, where are we going to go? We got a couple things to clean up. It's a wing thing part 2. Spencer, we talked last week about the wings. Show the double picture of the two cars if you can. So we talked about this. Danny Dietrich came out and talked about the Allen team and what was going on. And you can see this aluminum kind of dish action happening on what's supposed to be a flat top wing. Go on to the next slide, Spencer. So Danny Dietrich came out and did a live stream the next day and talked about it, Adam, and talked all about just everything for about a half an hour to 45 minutes. I found it super intriguing to the point that, and then he was talking about what's going on inside the wing. So they're letting some of these releases go, or the supports go, and he had all kinds of talk about how we should be teching these wings. So thanks, Spencer. So this led me to get into a talk with Kelly Hallett, Mike Miller. They all watched this video. Danny Dietrich had some wild thoughts on what could be going on with wings that opened our eyes up at Osh Weekend to look at a couple different things that maybe we weren't thinking about. So everybody Osh Weekend better have your wings in order because they are looking for it. So I just thought that was interesting. Yes.
Can you tech a sprint car wing with a camera? Can you take
that was one of the
footage
things,
or a still shot?
No.
And determine this is wrong?
That's a good question. I don't think you can, and that's the beat. That's the thing. So you can see it deflecting, obviously, right? You can obviously see there's deflections there. But what Danny Dietrich said. Go ahead.
It's super interesting because it's always been the teams versus tech. Who can get away with what? It was like the old story where they were trying to figure out how the hell Smokey Eunuch got the fuel mileage he did. So they pulled the fuel cell out of his car and they were checking it all over him. When they were done teching him, he fired the car up and drove away with no fuel cell in it. Where was the fuel coming from? But it's always been you have to beat tech in tech. And if they don't get it in that time frame, in their conditions, you're free. You can walk out the other side, both guns ablaze, and say, we got you. Right? Now, this is outside tech. A photograph, that is outside of tech. That's new territory.
Now, we didn't touch on it with Chaz, but when he talked about kind of calling out the drivers, he called out David Gravel a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was because I didn't pay attention to the clips, but for having a smartwatch on. And that's what they're talking about is you have a smartwatch on, you're getting signals to your smartwatch under yellow, a text that says, hey, the 1A is catching you on the outside. You better drop to the bottom. So that's one thing we'll be looking at Osh Weekend now. We're going to start outlawing smartwatches and all this stuff. It's ridiculous, but it's there. And so the other point to this that, Danny Dietrich shared the pictures, but we always measure these things at static, meaning parked, not at speed, not under pressure. So you can always see these things, but when it pulls into tech, the measurements are square. This is where Danny Dietrich had some ideas. He said, let's cut a hole in the side of this wing and stick a camera in there. So I thought that's where you were going. He says you'll be able to see if the spars have been cut or, not every part of the wing is there to let it deflect the way it is. Things about the squareness of wings. There's a diamond wing out there. There's all kinds of things. And some of the stuff Danny Dietrich said really resonated. And I got Kelly Hallett aside because he was first. I said, did you see this? I saw it all. So that made me feel a lot better that our tech was watching it, and he definitely had his notebook out as well. So I thought that was interesting. What else came down? Oh, the other thing Danny Dietrich said, typically in sprint car racing, and this is something that is a dirt speedway thing. So if you roll through tech after your heat and we see something is visually wrong with your car, we typically tell you to fix that. Take that off, make it right for the future. Dietrich says, let it go. Let them go out there and win that race and then steal the big check and the big money, and they will stop cheating and stop trying to push the rules. I thought that was an interesting take on it as well. He said, typically, so guys are going to keep pushing the envelope, and they'll come through tech specifically to get seen, but because they know you're going to, if you don't like it, you're going to tell them to take it off. I thought that was interesting. So we're always on the watch, too. Even some podcasts are informative to us track folks. I thought it was a heck of a discussion here in the last week or so. The other thing I want to touch upon that Chaz had Gravel on his show, and Gravel said there won't be any merchandise at Ush Weekend. Well, that is a bit of a false statement. None of the teams are bringing their own trailers across, but multiple teams have made arrangements to get stuff printed here in Canada to sell to the Canadian folks. So they will not be bringing it across the border. They've sent the files up to t-shirt manufacturers here in Ontario who will produce these shirts and sell them with the Outlaw. And I know this because I've been asked to book a 30 by 20 tent for the Outlaws to sell apparel. So it is happening. We also have to get them a Canadian float. So bring your souvenir money. Be prepared to buy your favorite driver's t-shirts. I can't guarantee they're all going to be there, but I know David Gravel has since made arrangements, and I know that because one of our teams messaged me that it was kind of off my radar and said, hey, we're helping Gravel with his apparel. Want to make sure there'll be a space for him to sell it. So I just wanted to clear up those couple of rumors. Just for the word, Adam, I'm not wishing this away. My attitude is great. I'm super pumped about Friday. I'm super pumped about the Outlaws. I think we're in great shape. Spencer, let's run the little promo video that Abby did for us, and we try and keep pushing the social media end of things.
Engines echo. The dust lingers. The scent of fuel in the air. The sunsets. Oh, those beautiful sunsets. A place remembered by the way it feels. The place where it all starts again. It's time. It's time to come home.
What was with that UFO-looking drone?
Did you see that?
Yes.
On Friday?
It was like a drone pulling a kite.
I call it was a Delta Wing. No, that thing was its own drone. This thing is way faster than Abby's drone. I started messaging Abby Saturday, and I said to him I should find it because we were actually laughing about it. Hey, do you have that screenshot I sent of Abby's shed? Abby showed up on Friday unexpected, and I promised him I'd get him a shed to work out of at the end of the grandstands. So he shows up and sends this to me in the pits. Do you have it there, Spencer? Oh, I sent it to you at the end. Abby hand drew a shed and said, hey, has this thing got power in it? I said, you're not supposed to be here till next week. Anyways, we talked about, and we're looking at doing some fun stuff with the drones and the wing and maybe some races and all kinds of cool stuff. So, yeah, we're excited about that. Just trying to find this darn deal. Oh, I said, hey, I just had thought to entertain the fans. Do you think you and that guy could do a 2 or 3 lap race intermission? The wing versus Abby. He says, I had a feeling something that was coming, but I thought it was going to be more like, can that plane pull a banner? And I said, okay, let me rephrase that. Can the plane pull a banner? Because imagine that. We could sell advertising on the back of the thing. And then we talked about having some drone races at intermission and stuff like that. So one thing we are working on for Friday, in-car video, Adam, I know you're excited about that. It was tested at the first practice. Joel's coming out Friday, so we hope to give some inside looks in the race cars and looking out the front like we've never done before. So on G-Force, we're going to keep pushing things to move on. Well, I don't even know where else we got to go. How about Spencer? I'm kind of lost. Let's look at some videos. Burger Barn videos of the week. What do we got there?
You can do it, Tia!
Yes!
Okay, so do you see this, Adam?
Yeah.
These were Lego cars. 10 Lego cars they built. And they let the Formula One drivers drive them at Miami. Amazing pieces of artwork. They did one for each team until you put the drivers in them and they wrecked them.
Well, you had to expect some tomfoolery. What's the difference if they wreck them? They wreck the real cars.
Well, did you hear Verstappen right after? He's like, we need to sweep the track because there's Legos everywhere. Show the other video, Spencer. I think I showed, maybe the other one shows them breaking these cars up, but there was all kinds of damage on them. Amazing works art. Man, I loved Lego as a kid, but this stuff is crazy. And the fact they could actually get two people in them and take them for a spin was super neat. But
It's
yeah,
pretty
they
cool.
did. They got together and beat them up. All right, what else we got, Spencer? We need something like this. We need a tough truck.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Just giving her.
If it was not for that awesome team of people right there. So thank you again.
Listen to the crowd.
Crazy. All right, what else we got? Looks like good time. Okay, Adam, we've seen the toe straps. Is this a smart move to keep your foot on the pedal or a bad move? Show it again, Spence. Yeah, fifth line is bad right now, Ricky. So like on the dirt cars, we have the throttle, the bar across the top to pull your foot back up. I think that's more to keep your foot on it, like a rally car thing. Not exactly the smartest thing to do. We don't encourage that. What else we got? This is just redneckery, okay? So this is an air cannon powered jet dragster in the back. But look at, what's this metal thing behind them? This giant monstrosity welded up catwalk. It's like a giant, it's like a human
Everything,
cat,
Everything in
but
the
where does
vicinity.
the car go?
Oh my God.
It just disappears.
Everything in
pull
the
that one back,
vicinity of that car could impale you.
Play it again. Look at the wheels on this thing. Okay, it's got a decent cage for a rail dragster.
Doesn't?
Yeah, I don't know what it's made of. Certainly not chrome moly. But look at the wheels on this thing. Rickety as all. Those are wheelchair wheels. But just look at the giant catwalk thing behind it. Like, somebody take the welder away from Jethro, okay? Just you and Bubba put the welder down, step away from the Coors Light, take the weekend off, okay?
Yep.
What else we got, Spencer? Oh, this is cool. Gotta love a midget dynamometer, rear wheel dyno. Play it one more time. Just listen to that thing scream, Spence. Yeah, 1,800 RPM, I think it said over there. That is crazy. All right, we got another one. I hope this is the one with the remote control. This RC guy calling this RC race, and the guy makes a wild move to try and jump and get a shot at the leader. And the way he calls this race, we need more announcers like this. Go for it.
It is game on. Ivan and Anand Kara going at it. Just a meter or two apart. Oh, David! Oh, my! What a move from David Kara. trying to go big. He had it, could not seal the deal. Ivan and Stalen strong.
Play it again. Just the way he screams is awesome.
It is game on. Ivan and Anankara going at it. Just a meter or two apart. Oh, David! Oh, my! What a move from David Anankara. Trying to go big. He had it, could not seal the deal. Ivan and Stalen strong.
That's the way to do it.
I thought that was great. Spencer, I just sent you the shed from Abby pick if you get that. Yeah, why not midgets at Oshweekend? Tyler, that's a good question. Whenever you want to bring somebody in like that, you need a full tour to come in. You need 24, 30 guys to commit, get them across the border. It's tough. Look at even the Outlaws. They're bringing 16 platinum drivers, and we're filling it with another 16 of our own local-ish regional teams. You could call it that. Yeah, so I get this from Abby in the pits on Friday. He's, hey, this thing got power? I'm like, you're not supposed to be here till next week. So now I got to get my shit together and get him a spot by next week, by Friday.
It'll be much easier to draw a field of midgets after Glenn builds his indoor facility that can host racing all winter long, because midgets will be as big as anything that you would want to run in there.
You just set on that, eh? Like it's actually going to happen, like a finish line, like something you might actually get.
Oh, did I not tell you about that?
Every once in a while, someone will drop that, a finish line or a banana reference, and I'm like, oh, you've been around for a little while.
Yep.
No. What else? I feel like we're missing a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, how about the Adam sent the picture about tire doping. We could show that. We could show the Oshweekend ad. Full Throttle comes out, Adam. Tire Dopers heads up. We will have a state-of-the-art sniffer donated by local businesses. Just don't try to dope them if you catch you full DQ in any class.
I love it.
Wonder what the state-of-the-art sniffer. I gotta get me one of those and see what that means.
$50 says it's a dog of some sort.
You think we've got a dog that can smell tire dope? Why not?
Yeah.
We got one that can do everything else.
Absolutely.
What else we got to go? How about the Stuart Friesen picture? They've decided they're going to redo the Stuart Friesen car this week to make it more look like his truck. So that will be the car Stuart Friesen will be driving. Not the wing that I showed. They're going to rewrap it. So not my call, but hey, cool. And John Brush called me today from Corpac. John Brush. And said, hey, man, amazing. Picked up another business, still working like crazy. And he said, hey, message Glenn and ask him what it's going to take to get Corpac on that 52. Because last time Stuart won the Outlaw race, he had Corpac on the car. And I think maybe a bit of Corpac luck may help seal a deal. And, of course, Glenn being as great as he is, Glenn said, for all the stuff John's done for us, we'll gladly run Corpac on the side of that car. No money needed. So, glad to see everybody's working together. This Friday, Adam, we bring back the history of Oshweekend Speedway. The Dirt Sportsman cars are back. The 360s are off as they prep for the two-day Outlaw show next week. So, we are excited, man. I think we're going to have a great car count. The Race of Champions Sportsmen's. You know what we do have is, I know at least one of the Merrittville Modified drivers is coming back. JMF, James Michael Friesen, won the Oshweekend race a couple times. Because they're a dirt-associated team at Merrittville, they can't run sportsman races anywhere. But because this is a Race of Champions Sportsman, they get to pull it out and come back. So Jimmy's excited to come back. At the same table where we were tipping cold ones on Saturday, Sharp was there, and another car owner, James Little, was there, and they started talking. So we may get the Merrittville point leader at Oshweekend on Friday in the sportsman car as well. So excited about that. Of course, crates are back at it. Brett Stratford and Jesse Costa both have their head down. Both could not make the show tonight. So, Brett was just said, no, I don't like doing those things. So
now, you know what?
Jesse just couldn't make it this week, but said next week.
Do you know why Brett doesn't like doing these things?
Because he doesn't want to talk to me or you anymore than he has to.
No, because he can't control his mouth. Like, he knows he will say something that offends somebody. Even in Victory Lane,
That's
he
why I
knows
want
that.
him on here.
I know, but
That's why I want him
he's
on.
matured to the point to know that he is unhinged, and he's doing himself a favor by keeping out of the limelight. I love Brett.
But let's go back. For us TV guys, it's a hell of a story. Champion comes out, first practice, he'll tell you, put the wrong jets in the car, burn up a piston, send it to Klotz the next morning. Klotz fixes it, gets it back, comes back, runs, as far as I understand, great last Friday at practice. That could have been a season-ending situation for Stratford right there. So we'll follow that story as we get into the coming weeks. But I'm excited. G-Force Live at 7:30. The Oshweekend Outlaw races will be on Dirt Vision the entire night. For those who asked, Wednesday, Thursday will be on Dirt Vision. G-Force does not have rights to any of that stuff, so our team's kind of off. Adam and Greg will call the support divisions. I'm sure Johnny Gibson will drag you guys on the mic a little bit there. And I'm going to be mostly in a management role Wednesday, Thursday, so I'm kind of excited about that, to actually just put out fires and not be stuck in the infield at some of the big events. So excited about that. Campers are going to move in starting Friday, Adam. We just know it. It's going to be an amazing week. Let's do this, bud.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Spencer, for everything. We're getting ready to roll. We'll see you Friday live on G-Force TV from Oshweekend Speedway. Season opener, 7:30.